Want to get into some of these reviews?
Yeah, let's check them out. So we've been asking you guys to leave us ratings and reviews, and you guys have been awesome and have been leaving us rating reviews, and we're really looking forward to everyone else who
on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't left a review, go hit us up on Apple Podcasts. We've got, as of right now, it's like 90, but it's weird how Apple Podcasts refresh it. It's like as soon as you post it, they don't like add it, which seems weird. But I think it has something to do with whenever they refresh your RSS feed, that's when they refresh their reviews too. Like it's very odd.
Yeah, and then when the person submits it, they don't see it immediately, and
so then they think they didn't get it posted right, and it's a whole stupid thing. Apple, fix your shit.
Yeah, and they don't refresh like.
I'm gonna rant on Apple in a little bit after we're done reading these reviews, but
that's fine.
Okay, I got a good one right here. This one is from my friend David Labar. Where did it go? He said, unique perspective. I've known David for a long time, so David, if you're listening, what up? He said, unique perspective. As someone who grew up closed-minded, I always look for podcasts that shed light on a life from a different perspective. This really hit the spot in that way. Richard and Andrew tackle heavy subjects and topical conversation with humor and ease. Big fan of this podcast. It's a really nice review because it's true, man. Like I think that's why people enjoy our show. Like we try to be open-minded. We cover a lot of shit, and we have a lot of different perspectives on stuff.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. One of the things I like about this show the most is that I listen back to it, and I have a fun time listening to it.
Totally.
Like I even gave myself a review because I was like, I listen to this show and I get excited because when they get released, because like, oh yeah, I had that conversation like a week ago, but it's still really interesting to me.
Totally. Do you ever find yourself making the jokes in your head and then you make the joke in real life, and you're like I'll think of that all the time when we're recording. You say something and it makes me think of a joke and I say it. And even when I listen back to the recording, I'm like, oh, I should say that joke. And then I say the joke. I'm like, you bastard. You said the joke. Like some dumb pun or something. Like you'll say something. You got a review?
Yeah, I got one. This one is from Superness with a bunch of U's. It says, I've known Richard and Andrew now for about 6 months, and seeing the authentic and helpful content is exactly what this community can use to transition into a new lifestyle even quicker, and also bridges the gap to illuminate and help understand the daily lives of individuals living with a wheelchair. Much kudos to their channel and the new podcast. Excited to see where they take it.
That's sweet.
Yeah, that was
so sweet.
That's really nice. I always appreciate genuine feedback. And what's really kind of interesting is, so I talk a lot about like the messages that I get, like the emails that I get and the DMs and just all the stuff that people like want to say, they say to me, but they don't want to like say it in public because it might be like too intimate, or it might be a little fanboy if they do it in public or whatever.
Yeah.
This is kind of a peek into that world.
Totally.
Because people are now feeling comfortable leaving reviews with what they genuinely think,
exactly,
and how they genuinely feel, and I think that's really cool, man. Because
yeah, there's
a few more that I'm gonna read that that when I read them, I'm like,
so sweet,
nice. This is beautiful.
Yeah, I'm gonna read one from Arturo. So this guy Arturo, I've been messaging in the DMs with for a while on Instagram, and it's funny because we haven't met in real life, but he found my podcast somehow. I think it was through like EDM stuff because he also goes to a lot of festivals.
Mm-hmm.
But he messaged me the other day and he was like, dude, like he's been messaging me a lot recently. He's like, dude, your podcast is the shit. Like you're my favorite podcaster. Like no lie. Like I listen to a lot of podcasts and your show is like legit my favorite. Like it's so awesome. Like thank you, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, dude, that means a lot. And then when I announced I was canceling my show, he was so sad. But then I'm like, no, dude, I got a new show. And he left us a review and he said, I started following Andrew this year and I love his content. I was never really into podcasts until I discovered your content on Instagram, then began listening to your content. You make such amazing content. He said content so many times, and conduct amazing interviews. In this new series, I'm so hyped, man. Congrats, man. I can't wait. You got a loyal subscriber, Arturo.
Hey Arturo, thanks, man.
Thanks, bro. That means a lot, dude. And I think that's a testament to like both of us too, because I think we'll be able to like transcend our original platforms into this one. Like I'm really excited about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely like really special. And you guys will understand with this next one that I read. This one is from KLD475. It says, I follow Richard on Instagram and I absolutely love his posts and his realness when it comes to disability. I'm an incomplete para and full-time manual wheelchair user who struggles a lot with their own identity as a disabled person and dealing with internalized ableism and all the ignorance us Crips have to go through every day. It's just so refreshing to listen to a podcast and not feel so goddamn alone in this world. Thank you, and keep it up. Society needs to learn to have more of a Crip lens, and I'm sure this will help with that. So
That's so sweet.
KLD, love you. Appreciate that. That's
awesome. Do you know who that is?
No, I don't. That's
nice.
a challenging part. Is like
some of these you know and some they don't.
You get to make up your own
Nickname,
username and nickname on these.
I was pretty confident I knew which one your mom was.
Yeah.
The way that it was worded, I was like, that's definitely
OMG super fan.
Yeah. Okay, I got another good one.
Love it.
This one's from AMH0819. So I have no idea who this is, but it says these guys are legit. I started listening and watching Richard on YouTube as his channel took off right after I became a wheelchair user. I can't even describe how helpful those videos were in the time I needed them the most. But the podcast is a huge step in normalizing people with disabilities. It shows the side of them that they are just guys being guys, and it's cool to hear the person beyond the disability and will hopefully open up more minds to the idea that the wheelchair users are just people using a wheelchair and it doesn't define every aspect of who they are. I look forward to hearing what they're up to as time goes on.
Yeah, that was actually one that I had screenshotted and saved
too. It was such a good one.
No,
honestly.
It doesn't matter. It's not like we're stealing these from any other, but I was going to read it and I saw that you had, and I was like, oh, dang, that was a good one.
It was a really good one, man. Because I think that encapsulates it a lot. It's like, yeah, especially the first like 4 or 5 episodes, especially the first 4, where we dove a lot into like wheelchair stuff. But I think it's also because you have a lot of like backstory to unpack that we just have to get into. It's like the elephant in the room.
I mean, our Patreon podcast, the first, I think 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 episodes were pretty much just all about me and my backstory.
Yeah.
Like one about this part of my backstory and one about this part of my backstory, another one about this part of my backstory. And it's like, geez, I got so much to unpack.
It is true. I mean, I
that
feel
podcast's
like,
still available if anybody's like truly interested. It's
yeah,
like
you
if
can
you
go on Patreon,
if
pay
you're the
$1.
kind of person that when they go buy movies, they get the extended cut, they get the director's commentary, and they watch all the bonuses, like that's this behind the scenes.
That is
for
the
you.
equivalent for sure. The OG behind the scenes podcast. That is kind of crazy because we started recording that podcast before we even started releasing videos on YouTube, which is nuts.
Yeah, like you mentioned before, like we were cocky little shits, but
yeah,
I think it's because we knew we had something important to share.
Totally.
Like it's not like we were calling our shots, like we weren't, but we were definitely like anticipating growth. Like we knew we had something valuable. It's kind of like
for sure.
It's like the guys that had Bitcoin before it peaked and they knew it was important, so they were preaching Bitcoin before it hit, and then when it finally hit, they were like, "See, I told you." You know, when you know you have something that is emerging and disruptive, and we got something cool here.
Totally.
All right,
another one.
This one is from my friend Cruz. I mentioned him in
Cruzy baby,
in a
what
previous
up,
podcast. Dude, Cruz is a quad who uses a sip and puff, which means that like all of his limbs are mostly useless,
and he drives his wheelchair with his mouth, basically.
Yeah, basically drives his wheelchair with his mouth, and he like paints
with his mouth.
And then he also has like his own interview show where he puts people in a chair,
another powered chair
that's just like his, where you're all like strapped in and everything. And I like Cruz,
it's a unique concept. I actually saw that for the first time, and I was like, oh, he only interviews quads. And then I'm like, oh, these are able-bodied people that he puts in a wheelchair.
Yep.
While he's interviewing them.
Yeah.
So they get to feel what it's like.
Well, I mean, you think about when Louis sat in the chair for an hour and he got out and cut the tape off his legs, and he's like, oh man, even there for an hour, like my legs are sore and they're numb and it's all tight and all stuck together, and it's like,
yep.
Yeah, it's not fun to be in these chairs. But it says
my balls was hot.
All right, here's a review from Cruz. Love listening to you guys. Great opinions coming from 2 different perspectives. Love the more broad topics and a little more uncut approach and conversations that are going on.
That's exactly what we're doing over here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I got one more. This one's a quick one from DigiDoc. It says, absolutely groundbreaking and frankly hilarious. I definitely enjoy listening. It's like a breath of fresh air in a world of crummy podcasts.
I liked that one too. That was a good one. I've also been really appreciating the people that have been commenting on our humor, because I don't think we're funny, but apparently we're pretty damn funny.
I think we're funny together. I mean, I've definitely been called funny in my lifetime. The thing is, I think there are some people that their life, not their life, but like constantly they're trying to be the class clown, you know, like they're trying to be the funniest in the room constantly. And I think for me, I'm just always silly. Like I am cracking jokes a lot and I love making people laugh and I love laughing. But I think that's more the motivation is that I love laughing. Like I'll crack jokes because I want to laugh.
We're just trying to have a silly goose time.
Just a freaking silly goose time, and that's it.
I think about what I meant was I don't think we're funny. I meant like this isn't a comedy podcast.
Yeah.
Like in no way this is a comedy podcast.
Yeah, but kind of.
We have humor.
Totally.
Humor,
I think any
important.
good speaker or any good entertainer has to have some element of comedy to keep it engaging at some level. I mean,
it diffuses and makes you laugh and like laugh. There's no better way to re-engage an audience than it is to make them laugh.
You think about the best teachers, you know, you were homeschooled, but I think about all the best teachers I had growing up, like all of my favorite ones injected a lot of humor. Like they're funny, you know, they kept the class fun. And I think when you're just trying to like relay information in a dry way, it's like, geez, freaking kill me.
Well, it's the same way of like, there's a lot of good videos out there about wheelchair and wheelchair life, but it's just people sitting in front of a camera talking. And it's like, I can't engage with that. Like my flying video still popping, gonna be popping for a long time. It's growing. It's never stopped.
What's a bad baby? They ain't gonna stop me, and they ain't never gonna stop me.
And it's I remember doing research for that video, and I found a ton of videos where they just sat there and talked about the process. And it's like, no, we got to show them the process because that's so different. Totally. And I think that's why that video very quickly climbed to the top.
I agree. I totally agree. I think a lot of people, it's easier to not show it. It's just, frankly, it's just easier to just say it on camera, like talk about the experience, but it's much harder to document the whole thing because you've got to be intentional and put effort behind it. And that's just, I think that's the case with a lot of online content, dude. Like there's probably a lot of people that have more important things to say than us, but like they're not putting in the sweat equity or, you know, figuring out how to do all the correct audio stuff and video stuff and all that. And it's, it shows, you know, when you have that high quality caliber of content, there's just a certain level that you reach and people are like, oh, and this actually brings me to my next point, which is I want to talk about Apple Podcasts and this whole new and noteworthy thing that we've been pushing because it is pretty fascinating. We've been, you know, like one of the biggest things we've been saying is like, please go rate, review on Apple Podcasts. It's going to help us get the show out to more people. You know, we'll get on the new Noteworthy page, all this kind of stuff. And I got a message from my friend Matt B. Davis, who runs the Atlanta podcast and the Obstacle Racing Media podcast. He's been doing this for like 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know how long, but he's been in it for a long time. And his message this morning, he texted me and he goes, "Hey man, reached out to Jay, my buddy who oversees content at How Stuff Works, which is in Atlanta actually.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Big freaking deal.
Huge.
Produced the Atlanta Monster." Speaks all over the world and has convos with top folks at iTunes and Spotify all the time.
Wait, what was his friend's name again?
Jay.
Oh,
he's like the head of How Stuff Works.
I know Payne Lindsay, who did the Atlanta Monster.
Yeah.
Payne Lindsay, oh my God. He's got, I'll consume anything Payne Lindsay. The dude is awesome. My favorite one, and this was kind of his first one, was Up and Vanished.
Oh yeah.
Which was a story.
I haven't listened to like any of those podcasts.
Dude,
I haven't listened to the Atlanta Monster. I haven't listened to Up and Vanished. I need to. I listened to a lot of like
Atlanta
comedy.
Monster got really conspiracy theory. And I had to go away from that because I can't stand conspiracies. They just drive me nuts. But the story of Tara Grinstead with Up and Vanished ended with 2 people getting arrested and convicted. Like he helped solve that case by just investigating it and writing a story about it. And then he's got just a bunch of other podcasts that are just like he's a compelling storyteller. Like you are you're there. You're like on edge. Like it's Payne Lindsay's good.
Dope. Well, so this guy is definitely legit. And he says, I reached out to Jay and he said, no, New and Noteworthy is editorially curated. Reviews don't even influence chart ratings. That's his answer to quote unquote, will lots of reviews in a few days work? Which is what I thought anyways, as I've discussed this in the last. I mean, they certainly don't hurt that your friends are helping, but thought I'd help dispel a myth. Also, quote unquote, reviews help other people find the show. Not really. So my response to that is, this is what I texted him. I knew it was curated by humans at iTunes, but we're just trying to get their attention since we don't have a connection there. Seems like it's the only way to break through to New and Noteworthy, because I have had friends who had like 1,000 downloads and 100 reviews in the first week, and they got onto New and Noteworthy. So we're just trying to replicate that. And I meant by reviews help people find the show in the same way that we were hoping more reviews would get us on New and Noteworthy, therefore indirectly helping people find the show. Like, having tons of reviews isn't going to be like people are like, oh, I found the show because I saw all those reviews. It's like, no, getting the reviews is going to help us hopefully get on New and Noteworthy, which is going to hopefully help people find the show. So it's not like we're saying like, oh, by putting the reviews, tons of people are going to read the reviews. I liken it to this. If you go to a YouTube page that has like 5 videos and like no views, you're not going to subscribe. But if you go to a podcast that has like, 5, 6 episodes, you say it just launched and it already has 100 reviews, you're like, oh shit, people listen, Yeah. Like I saw Bob Menery's podcast. It has like 5,000 reviews and it just launched like earlier this year. And it's like, holy shit, that guy has some pull, and it means people are actually listening. And that's, I think, what we're really trying to do here. Cause it's like, number one, and also I was saying like the whole 24-hour thing on my story. I was like, we need it in 24 hours. And apparently it does help to, in those 24-hour windows. That's how like Apple calculates their stuff. Who knows? It's kind of a mystery. But the thing is like,
it's a sense of urgency.
I was putting a sense of urgency on my audience, because it's like, I know you're eventually probably going to go do it, but I want you to do it now so that we can jumpstart this whole process, and we're not waiting 6 months down the road to get on, because you can get on New and Noteworthy later down the road. There's plenty of podcasts on New and Noteworthy right now that are like a year old, and it's like, they're not new, but they're noteworthy, I guess.
And there are a lot of new.
It should be new or noteworthy
that have almost no reviews, and they're kind of crap, but it's because there's a connection.
Yeah, and that's what I said to him.
There's a huge network attached. It's like the YouTube trending page. Like you have to be dumb to not know that like that stuff was put on trending.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
it's not even trending. It's literally just the New and Noteworthy section, and they have connections. It's like, oh, Reese Witherspoon's podcast. Nah shit, it's going to get on New and Noteworthy because it's noteworthy that Reese Witherspoon is starting a podcast. Granted, it has 2 episodes and 10 reviews, but don't mind that. It's the fact that Reese Witherspoon, holy crap. And that's honestly what's kind of crazy about podcasting, and why I'm so passionate about it, is because it's very obvious that this is the way that media is going. People are constantly consuming things passively now. People don't have time to sit down and watch days and days of content. I mean, back in the day, there was only so much content to consume, and now there's just an endless tidal wave of shit coming your way. I mean, we've got freaking Netflix, Google Plus, or Disney Plus, Hulu. You've got the stuff that's on actual TV still. You've got all of YouTube. Like
the infinity supply on your phone.
And then you've got tons of stuff on social media. We are getting content fatigue, and audio is definitely the move, because you can do it while still going about your day. I mean, I think about like, I'm less productive when I'm not listening to podcasts because I get distracted. But if I'm listening to a podcast, I can like focus on like doing menial tasks that I can't force myself to do otherwise.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I say I listen to podcasts all day, every day. It's because one,
Same.
I'm usually alone all day, every day. So it's nice to feel like I'm a fly on the wall and a part of a conversation, or I'm like hanging out with friends in the car. It also makes all of my work that I hate doing less sucky. Like I don't want to run errands. I don't want to go to doctor's appointments. I don't want to go grocery shopping. I don't want to clean and cook. And, that's just like, ugh. But I do because I'm having a fun time while I'm doing it. It doesn't feel like wasted time.
Exactly.
Like, I hate feeling like I've wasted time. And then there's some podcasts I listen to that's just for fun. There's some podcasts I listen to learn. And then if I want to go even more deep down, like the learning rabbit trail, I'll get an audiobook. And I like audiobooks a lot, especially if they're personal development audiobooks, because I get to do 2 things at once that are really good for me. I get to listen to an audiobook while I'm at the gym, or while I'm grocery shopping, or while I'm, doing just admin work. And kill me admin work. I hate admin work so much, but it makes it less terrible if I'm...
Totally. I mean, I agree 100% with that. I think podcasts are actually changing the world and changing the way we live our lives and go about things and learn things, and it's beautiful. Like, it's honestly awesome, and that's why I'm so passionate about it too, because I think especially if people are enjoying it, give them more. Like I think about how much I love podcasts, and hopefully people enjoy our show as much as we like our favorites.
Sometimes I can get overwhelmed with podcasts, like Joe Rogan, for example. He'll drop 7 or 10 in a week, and I'm like, dude, I can't keep up with that. But then there's some people that'll drop one a week and I'm like, ooh, I'd like more. Or they'll drop 2 a week and I'm like, okay, I can handle that. But some will drop
like
three or 4 or 5 and I'm like, okay, guys, that's too much.
I can kind of get with that. I think I have two schools of thought with the Joe Rogan thing, because on one hand, I think about it like Gary Vee, where he just puts out so much that you can't possibly keep up if you have a life, which makes his hardcore super fans that do consume everything the hardest of hardcore. You know what I mean?
It's
Like,
true.
if there's someone who's listening to every single Rogan episode, they are a super fan in the most intense form of the word, you know? Like, they are literally spending days of their life listening, you know, if not weeks and months over time. Like, it's insane. I think about it. I've probably listened to Joe for like a straight week of my life, like literally.
Yeah, the people that I think about that are major podcasts and consumers are the people that do a lot of work throughout the day, that their hands are busy, but their mind is free.
Exactly.
So that can be everyone from a mom to someone who runs a catering business to someone who works in an office. Like, pretty much
Truck drivers.
You can find anywhere to listen to podcasts. Like, anywhere to listen to podcasts.
The one that you can't do, video editing. You cannot listen to podcasts while video editing.
True.
It's very tragic. I wish that I could, but I can't. You can kind of sometimes listen to music in the background. I know AJ sometimes does, because like on the breaking the set. But
Yeah, like listening to like classical music or lo-fi, like Richard's been recommending, like it makes the process so much more relaxed. It's just like boop, 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 boop.
yeah, because if you're editing just vocals, like if you're just editing a podcast, like there's no music in the background, so you can add the music to make it more of an enjoyable experience for you. But if you're editing, like for example, a lot of the Wheels2Walking videos, just the style that I edit to the music so much that a lot of times it's difficult to do that. But recently we've been doing a lot more like talking head type of stuff, so I could if I wanted to. But like, for example, the Texas hunting video, there was no way I was like listening to music while editing that whole thing. It was just too much.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when I'm doing work that requires heavy concentration. I'm a big fan of down tempo lyricless stuff. Things like lo-fi hip hop, jazz, chill hop, like anything that is not anxiety based, you know, not upbeat, and anything that has no lyrics, because when there's lyrics, my brain goes, ooh, listen to those lyrics and not the thoughts in your head.
Exactly.
You know, it like scrambles my brain.
If you know the songs really well, you can get around that, I think. But especially if it's a song you don't know, like if you're just on shuffle on Spotify, there's no way I'm not kind of focusing on the lyrics, because it's like I don't know them, so I'm listening to it for the first time. But when you listen to a song so much that you know the lyrics, it's almost like part of the melody of the. It's like a part of the instrumental almost at that point in your brain, as far as like analyzing.
Hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want the full episode, you can click right here. If you want to subscribe, click here. If you want more clips, we got 2 more right over here.